This video is about developing an understanding of meaning of a midpoint and a segment bisector. So first we're going to talk about some vocab that leads into midpoints. So the first thing is congruent segments. So congruent segments are segments that have the same length. So for example, we would say AB is congruent to AD. That means the length of AB is going to be equal to the length of AD. So number one, which comes from the SAT, on segment PS, PQ is equal to RS. What is the length of PS? So we know that PQ and RS are equal to each other. So I'm going to put the same type of tick mark so I know that those are congruent. So because they're congruent, they have the same length, we can set them equal to each other. So x minus 1 is equal to 3x minus 7. So as we solve, we get negative 1 equals 2x minus 7. Add 7 to both sides, 6 equals 2x. So when we divide, x is 3. Then because we want to find the length of PS, which is the entire segment, we're going to put 3 in for x. So 3 minus 1 is 2. X is just 3. And then 3 times 3 minus 7 is also 2. So PS, we're going to add those together. 2 plus 3 plus 2. So PS is going to have a length of 7. In number 2, given that WT is congruent to HS, determine if WT is congruent to BD. Show all work and explanation. So right now, we know that WS or WT and HS are congruent, which means they have the same length. So we can set them equal to each other. 4x plus 10 is equal to 5x minus 3. So we get 10 equals x minus 3. When we subtract 4x from both sides, we add 3 to both sides, x is 13. So now we want to see, is WT congruent to BD? So we're going to substitute into those equations. So WT is 4 times 13 plus 10, which gets us 62. BD is 3 times 13 plus 23, which is also 62. Because they have the same length, they are also congruent. So we would say WT is congruent to BD because the segments have the same length. Okay, so let's look at one more example. Given that JA is congruent to CK, solve for X. So to start this problem, we know that JA and CK are congruent, so we're going to set them equal to each other. 5x minus 17 equals 3x plus 23. So in order to solve, we're going to move 3x to the other side. So we have 2x minus 17 is equal to 23. We can add 17 to both sides, so 2x equals 40, divide, and we get x is 20. Then in the second part of this question, it says, what is the length of segment CK? Is CK congruent to IE? So first, to find the length of CK, we have CK is equal to 3 times 20 plus 23, so that gets us a length of 83. And then IE is 7 times 20 minus 62, which is 140 minus 62, so we get 78. So they are not congruent because they don't have the same length. So no, CK is not congruent to IE because the lengths are not equal. In number 4, use segment addition to solve for x and then find A, B, and AD. So this is segment addition, which we talked about yesterday. Remember that the two parts are going to equal the whole segment. So we're going to have 2x plus 4 plus 4x minus 4 is equal to 24. And we combine like terms, we get 6x equals 24. Divide x is 4. Once we have that, we can substitute in. So 2 times 4 plus 4 is 12. 4 times 4 minus 4 is 12. Now, if we notice the whole length is 24, each part is 12, which means that A is a midpoint because these two segments are congruent, which leads into our next topic here. So midpoint. A midpoint is a point that divides a segment into two halves or congruent segments. So if M is the midpoint, that means it's halfway between A and B, making AM and BM congruent to each other. A bisector then is just a line, segment, or ray that divides a segment into two halves or congruent segments. So if M would still be the midpoint then, and it's bisecting because this line L is passing through point M. So there's two types of problems that we can do then, based on the given information. So in number 5, we know that M is a midpoint of AB. So we're going to mark those two segments congruent. Then we have AM is 3x plus 5, and MB is 6x minus 16. We want to solve for x and find AM and AB. So in order to solve for x, because they're a midpoint, we have half the line here and half the line. So we know that a half is equal to a half. So 3x plus 5 is equal to 6x minus 16. So as we solve, we get 5 equals 3x minus 16. We can add 16 to both sides. 21 equals 3x. When we divide, x is 7. Once we know x is 7, then we want to find AM. So when we substitute 3 times 7 plus 5, that's going to get us 26. Remember then, if it's a midpoint, that means the two segments are congruent, so they both have a length of 26. So to find AB, it is just 26 plus 26, which is 52. So this is one type of problem where you have half the line and half the line. In number 6, we have that M is a midpoint of AB. So we're going to mark these parts congruent. AM is 2x minus 8, and AB is 3x minus 4. So in this case, they are not equal to each other because AM is half the line and AB is the full line. So we need 2 times the half is equal to our whole segment. Because if AM is 2x minus 8, then MB is also 2x minus 8. So we need 2 of those segments. So 2 times 2x minus 8 is equal to 3x minus 4. So as we distribute, 4x minus 16 equals 3x minus 4. We can move 3x to both sides, so x minus 16 equals negative 4. Add 16, so x is 12. Once we know x is 12, to find MB, we are going to substitute, so we have 2 times 12 minus 8. So 2 times 12 is 24, minus 8 will get us a length of 16. In number 7, this one's a little bit different because it doesn't say it's a midpoint. It says, is E a midpoint? So that means right now we can't assume it's a midpoint. We're trying to figure out if it is. So right now we are going to use segment addition to start. So to use segment addition to start, we have 7x plus 15 plus 9x minus 11 is equal to 10x plus 82. So when we combine like terms, 16x plus 4 equals 10x plus 82. So we get 6x plus 4 equals 82. We can subtract 4 from both sides. 6x equals 78. When we divide by 6, x is 13. Now that we know x is 13, we want to figure out, is E a midpoint? So we got to figure out if those two halves are going to be equal to each other. So we're going to do 7 times 13 plus 15, and we get 106. And then we're going to do 9 times 13 minus 11, which is also 106. So because these are split in half, we know that E is a midpoint. So E is a midpoint because RE is congruent to DE. So the segment was divided in half. Number 8, C is a midpoint of AD. So we know that AC is going to be congruent to CD. We also know that B is a midpoint of AC. So we took one of those halves and we cut it again, so we now have a fourth. We know that AB is x plus 2 and AD is 5x minus 2. So we want to solve for x and then find BD. So we know that AB was a half of a half, which is really a fourth. So we need 4 times the length of AB to equal AD. So we have 4 times x plus 2 equals 5x minus 2. We distribute 4x plus 8 equals 5x minus 2. So we get 8 equals x minus 2, so x is 10. Then we want to find the length of BD. So when we substitute 10 in, 10 plus 2 is 12. 5 times 10 minus 2 is 48. If I want the length of BD, I can subtract the part off that's not included. So we have 48 minus 12, so BD is going to have a length of 36. Which of the following are true about the diagram above? Circle all statements. So AB is equal to CD. Well, AB we said was a fourth of the line, and B and CD is a half of the line. So those are not equal. BA is congruent to BC. Those are both a fourth of the line. They are congruent. 2BC equals CD. That's true. 2/4 equal a half. 4BC equals AD. So 4BC, which is a fourth, equals the whole line. That's true. AC equals CD. That's congruent. They're both half the line. And then 4AC equals AD. Well, AC is a half, so that's too much, so those are not equal. Number 9, draw a diagram showing that R is the midpoint of GH. What conclusions can you draw? And then we're going to solve for X. So when we draw a picture here, that means that GH are the endpoints and R is the midpoint. Once we know R is the midpoint, we know that GR and HR are congruent. That's the conclusion we can get from the midpoint. So when we label here, we have that RH is 7x plus 9 and GH is 18x minus 2. So we have a half and a whole, so we need 2 halves of the line to equal the whole segment. So we have 2 times 7x plus 9 is equal to 18x minus 2. When we distribute, 14x plus 18 equals 18x minus 2. 18 is equal to 4x minus 2. 20 equals 4x. X is 5. In number 10, when we draw a picture, C is the midpoint of DF. So we have D and F as our endpoints. C is in the middle, so we can mark those two congruent. As soon as you know it's a midpoint, we're going to mark congruency on that picture. So DC is 5x minus 13. CF is x plus 3. We know this time that they're both half the line, so a half is equal to a half. So we have 5x minus 13 is equal to x plus 3. 4x minus 13 equals 3. 4x equals 16. So x is 4. So remember when we are setting up midpoint problems, something you kind of should be running through in your head, are the segments equal? If yes, you set them equal to each other and solve. If no, the smaller segment you need 2 of to get your bigger segment, and then you set up your equation 2 times a half equals the whole segment. Now you should pause the video to try 11 and 12 on your own and then restart the video to check your answers.